Well, hello, Mark. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. We skipped last week, but no one would know that because of the weird release schedule that we have.
Well, I delayed that a week too, just so people feel it.
Oh, you want them to? Oh, got it, got
No,
it.
it was coincidence. I got really busy
Oh,
with
okay,
some stuff.
okay,
So yeah, go over goals, I guess.
okay. Did you have a look at? Did you have a quick look at what the goals were?
I listened to the last episode or just the last minute or two, but
Okay.
mine was really easy. Mine was just do 4 videos, record 4 videos,
Hmm.
and it's been 2 weeks, but I have recorded 4 videos in the last, well, actually this week, counting starting
Oh,
from
cool.
Sunday, because I've been live streaming daily. Diet is not going super. I've been continuing it, but just like stalled out, no progress. So maybe that's just water fluctuations or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
Been feeling pretty good though, and revenue was way down this month, so I was in a bit of a cash crunch.
Oh,
MRR is up, but I just had I had that huge month in August from it
yeah,
was like almost 4,000, or I think it broke 4,000. And that was from a lot of annual signups. I had some last month.
yeah.
This month I haven't, so it's like probably going to be under 1,000 for the whole month.
Hmm. Interesting.
But
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but as far as like my actual output, met all the goals. And I think you had said, was it you were doing something with the orb challenges, but then you later messaged me and said you changed plans. So maybe just let us know where you are on Roblox.
Yeah. So, well, so I interestingly made friends with someone through the Roblox developer forum, um, who is what I would consider an industry veteran, even though only probably in his very early 20s at
Uh huh.
Roblox. But yeah, he's released. I believe he's built 100 games at this point, and
Oh, okay. Nice.
uh, within the last, he's sort of really nailed it within the last few years, and he now has a game that's pulling in that's had over 100 million plays, pulls in over 100 million active, sorry, a million active users a month. And what's really interesting about, oh, sorry, what you going to say something?
I was going to say it sounds like the students on the right half of that famous pottery class that got graded by the weight of the of all
Exactly,
the
exactly.
pottery they made. So he just turned out lots and lots of games and got good.
Well, so he tried out lots of games, got good, then did a 2 year game design masters, learning from I don't remember the name of the guy, but he's one of the people who originally created the massively multiplayer game.
Oh,
So really from real industry, insiders,
wow.
and has done 2 years of sort of hardcore thinking, has done two internships at Roblox,
Hmm.
so understands the internals of the company and just understands all of the analytics, like the numbers, the monthly active users, how many users you get into your game, the average amount of Roblox you can earn per user, different types of games, different game theories, and what sort of works on Roblox. And
Wow.
so that's been a really good and sort of eye-opening. He's sort of like a young, me in a way.
Yeah.
He's really understands that kind of area in the same way that I understand the indie founder stuff.
Is he from the US?
Yeah, from the US, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And so,
So,
so basically what he explained to me in a very convincing way is that the linear modality that I was creating, running around the track, getting keys. Oh, I should also mention that he's now on Team Slider. He's a consultant, like, so I am actually sort of paying him an hourly rate, and he's doing consulting with me. So that's another point to note.
cool.
Um, so the going round the tracks and collecting the keys and collecting
Hmm.
the orbs is basically a linear path, and it's not gonna work. It's not going to do what I need, which is player retention, it's just going to get people in for a couple of hours and then they'll be done. So yes, it
And
will
you
launch
haven't.
with a big surge, which is sort of proven. And the great thing is he's sort of showing me different examples. He's like, here's an example where an industry outsider came in like you and polished the shit out of their game and released it. And here's what happened because they didn't do the right, they didn't understand game design principles.
And I
Yeah.
guess you haven't play tested for over a couple hours yet.
Well, yeah, exactly. But also, something that really backs up what he's saying is that remember I had Planet Milo, that the kid, and about 10 kids in there. So
Yeah.
Planet Milo is a YouTube channel where they have like 100,000 subscribers. And anyway, we had 10 kids in there and they all went crazy for it. And they did like slurp it up for a couple of hours, but then they didn't come back. So kind of along those lines. So, really what the change is going to be is to make it open world and to make it rounds based. So it's going to be like in 30 minutes, the challenge is starting at this track. Sorry, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. In 30 seconds,
Say, like,
30 minutes.
it's asking a lot if they're young.
So in 30 seconds, do you want to join this challenge? And so then they'll join the challenge. And then the other thing is, it's honestly, it's really fascinating. I think I might bring him on texting because there's so many different interesting aspects
Yeah, you should.
to the game thing. But like also, rather than making each track linear, make multiple ways around each track. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. It was linear because before you were saying like you have to do, this challenge that unlocks the second one, which unlocks the third. And I had thought that sounded kind of reasonable, but like a bit rigid that there was only one possible order.
Yeah.
But it also, to me, I mean, what you're saying now is also sounds a little extreme, just that you can do anything anytime.
Well, you can do anything anytime because basically I don't have the player motivation map in front of me, but he sort of went through the player motivation map that I think is more interesting than Octalysis actually.
What model is it?
If you look at the sort of successful games, they're very community driven. So there's a lot of community type of stuff. Obviously, the number one game being Adopt Me, which is just about adopting pets and sort of showing off your pet. So there's different aspects. There's like completion, there's challenge, there's discovery, there's creation, there's building. But having a completely open world is probably okay as long as there's pockets of things to do in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? So basically, you can find a challenge, you can do the challenges, you can level up your XP. But also, so that's sort of like open, but then there'll be like a constant sort of rounds based thing, which will do countdown. And to be honest, mainly what I know is the problem and what I've been working on is like taking out all that stuff, which is a whole other development issue,
Oh,
a bit of a development nightmare. And I don't really have full clarity on what the rest of it's going to be. I know that people like the tracks, and I know that I have for each one of the tracks, I have to make multiple paths around it. So like a quick way, but a harder way,
Okay.
So for example, you start the challenge and then maybe you do like a giant jump and land on one of those countdown blocks that like disappear, something like that.
Well, so far there's nothing you said that contradicts the Octalysis framework or how that works.
Oh,
It
it's
sounds
not
like you're
that.
talking about a lot of the same things, but
it isn't a
I
contradiction.
don't know the model you're talking about, so it's hard to.
I wouldn't say it's a contradiction. I would say it's a simplification. So basically,
Okay.
it's just simpler. It's just easier to look at and understand.
Okay.
There's really just three areas.
That makes sense because
yeah.
Octalysis is kind of meant to be super general, and the creator of that actually uses it to analyze like a whole bunch of other frameworks that others have come up with.
Oh, you got what you're saying?
One other thought, yeah. So on the multiple linear paths you can pick and do them in different orders. One game that I have fond memories of that I used to play a lot was called Mega Man, and it had basically it had 6 enemies, and they're all kind of difficult to get to, because this is like an older game back when Nintendo was not at all worried about people quitting because things were too hard. And when games were expensive, you didn't have many kids didn't quit when they were hard.
Yeah.
But the thing that was really interesting about it was each of the enemies you beat. It's like you have to go through a whole bunch of levels and you beat like Electric Man, and then you get this electric weapon. And then if you defeat Iceman, you get this ice weapon that can freeze things.
Yeah.
And each individual one that you beat gives you a different skill, which makes it easier to beat any of the others. So there's certain orders that are easier to go through than others. And there's certain that are other orders that are very difficult, but depending on how you do it, you can sometimes feel like, wow, I have this totally unfair advantage to get through this level that otherwise would have been hard because I did this other thing first.
Oh, that's
And
very cool.
That's something that a lot of my friends and I used to talk about when we were like 10 or however old we were, of like, oh, well, you got to do this one first. No, I bet you can't do this one first. And it added a lot of replay value.
And that's a nice idea. And so I could put that at the end of each of like the major tracks. You sort of win an ability.
You get something that makes it so there are more experiences you can have going through the same material.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that I learned is that you make money just from people playing it.
You do?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So basically, because Roblox have a subscription.
The pro players, the premium players.
Yeah, the premium players.
It's divided by all the time they spend. I looked at the dev portal briefly.
Yeah. So you do make some money, and it could be, I don't know, like 3 Robux per player or something like that. But that can translate into some interesting money if you get enough players as well.
So if you do have this guy on Texting, would it be with both you and Jason interviewing him, or just you?
Just me, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't want to have one of those storyteller versus time cop episodes.
That's right. So the other thing is analytics. So just the same as in our world, he's like, look, really, we just need to get it out as soon as possible. It doesn't really matter what we can try and build some stuff into it, but we just got to get it out there as soon as possible, because I've got some key questions. I want to know why players quit, and I want to know which track players prefer.
I am so happy to hear that part, because the biggest thing I was worried about was that it was delayed before, and now you were like, well, it looks like I've got to redo all this stuff, so it's not going to be out at the end of the month. And I was thinking like, oh no, because like the longer it goes on, the higher your goals for it'll be, and that's just like this reinforcing cycle. And you know what they would really do in the games industry in general?
Tell me.
You'd have to tell that 23-year-old guy that's building stuff out for you, it's like, sorry, like you just can't stop before midnight ever. And you just sleep by the computer and work on this all the time.
Well, I've put a pause on him, on the guy doing the building. So because that's obviously, costing cash, and I need to stop that.
So I'm just time though.
Yeah, no, I know.
I mean, my time both are. But
yeah. No, it's interesting. It's like it probably wasn't the best decision to build a Roblox game, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think it was a good idea to build one, but I would feel way more confident if you just put out like 10 junky games like this guy did.
Yeah.
First,
I sort of made the mistake that I teach not to make.
Speaking of gaming, though, I've been following another YouTuber recently called the Cherno, and he's like a 23 or 24-year-old Australian guy. Must have graduated from school early, because he talked about that in some of his videos about how he basically made a Minecraft, like a minimal Minecraft game as a college project when like everyone else was making Tetris. And he got hired by EA and worked there for a few years. And I went back to Australia, and he's working on an open source graphics engine. So all this stuff is C++, but which is, I think it's how I found him, because I was having some annoying issues trying to get everything set up on my Mac with VS Code. But it's really interesting watching the way he does his streams, because he's been on YouTube for years, like since he was a teenager. But more recently he's been going on Twitch a lot. He'll do like a 3-hour live stream, and like a lot of Twitch live streams, he'll have Q&As, he'll have some music on, just be coding some stuff and talking to people, and then periodically he'll close the chat, turn off the music, just take a deep breath, and then start talking as if he's recording YouTube video. And he just does like a more polished sounding video, often with a screencast, where he's like showing how to he was teaching OpenGL, or he's teaching how his graphics engine works, or how to build a graphics engine, for like 15 minutes. And then he'll take another deep breath and just be like, okay, and then go to the chat and just ask people if they have questions. And you knocked your microphone, you're super quiet again. And then once it's done, once he's done like his 3-hour Twitch stream, he's sometimes got like 3 or 4 YouTube videos created out of it in the process. And I just saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, like I sometimes spend 3 or 4 hours just making a single screencast. Like how is this possible? And obviously, like, he's not editing as much, and quality is a concern. His videos when he first started doing that were not very good. I mean they weren't horrible, but they just weren't that polished. It was lower quality than his previous videos where he was doing them off stream. But I think just the act of doing that regularly, he got just more fluid, and he got better at screencasting while being taped in one shot. And the newer videos, I think it's totally serviceable. Like it's quality I would be happy publishing. So I started streaming on Twitch every morning.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's how I have made 4 screencasts this week already. And in my case, there were a couple of them where I had to just bail partway through and be like, all right, gonna start over, like get reset -- hard head, start over from scratch and redo this thing. But it's been reasonably quick. And Twitch Studio has a thing or actually not just Twitch Studio, like the Twitch website has a thing built into it where you can just clip whichever part of a video you want, and you can actually clip it multiple times and cut out chunks. It's not the most accurate. It's only like down to 1 second accuracy. So if you do a screencast in one take, or maybe you have 1 or 2 mess ups in it, it's totally fine. And it's way faster than the way I've been editing them on my Mac, because I have a horrible graphics card and it takes me forever to actually create the video after I've done the editing.
I really like that. I think that's fantastic. It reminds me of the production cycle of the No Agenda podcast. Basically, they have 0 editing, and they've got it to the point where within 30 minutes, the entire show is released, like the full cut with all the show notes, everything. And so I think that's a really good idea, where it just takes as the absolute minimal amount of time possible to create the content. I think that's a really powerful and good idea.
It depends. I mean, the cost of doing that depends on how skilled you are at it.
Yeah.
If you're making lots of mistakes,
force yourself.
Yeah. It does. It does kind of put some pressure on.
But it's also good to do it on a stream, because it's better, because when you've got people watching you, you are better, generally speaking. I find, it just puts you more in your game.
It does that for sure. So I'm gonna stick with the plan from last time of like really pushing on growing Alchemist Camp for the next, basically until getting close to Black Friday, and then switch to like full on Phoenix Igniter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like I'll see how this goes. It's only been 4 days that I've streamed so far in a row. But if this goes well, I think even once I switch focus to Phoenix Igniter, I'll just build that in Twitch streams.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be giving that video to everyone, but I'll still be building in public, still maybe grow my Twitch following, which is very small. I have like 26, I think.
I think that's a great plan. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice. So I did a podcast with Rob Walling yesterday.
Oh, you did? For his?
Yeah. Yeah, for
nice.
for startups for the rest of us, to promote the boot camp. And it was nice. good podcast. It was super nice of him to have me on. And so we spoke through the back history of Plugio and all the stuff that I'd done. And,
oh my gosh. How long was the podcast?
No, he's got it down. Like it doesn't go over 30 minutes. It's going to be the same as normal. He sort of compresses it. He has an outline. He knows exactly what questions he's going to ask, where he's going to go. And I think it's going to be good. And I believe, I think that they have, in the tens of thousands of listeners, or possibly more on
Is this the first time you've been on there?
Yeah, I think I have done some stuff for him before, but it wasn't the main podcast.
I think you were on his blog for something before, talking about Plugio, but at least you guest posted somewhere.
Yeah, Micropreneur Academy. I know I did a call with him.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, because he went on your podcast a ton of times. Oh, yeah, I haven't listened to all of his podcasts, but I don't think I've ever heard you or Jason on there.
Yeah. So that's cool, and the funnel is just completely broken. Like people are for Nugget, people are getting value. Like it's the boot camp is very good. People are really getting value. Nice. But there is no one upgrading to the Startup Academy because I'm just being too namby-pamby about it. I'm not even. They don't even know the Startup Academy exists until they get to the very last page.
What's namby-pamby?
Namby-pamby is just too like gingerly, like a cat walking, like
like afraid to make a sale.
Yeah. So. Okay. It's something that I'm definitely going to have to revisit. I'm waiting for Matteo to knock it out the park. But the problem is that his app, Hey Hi, which created a lot of buzz. If you think of I liken it to like a chair with 3 legs. You need to it needs to work for him as a founder. It needs to work for the people he's selling to, which are SaaS businesses. But it also needs to work for the people coming to the website. They need to use it.
Yeah.
And so the premise of that product is talk to anyone via video, like instantly talk to them. Hey, hi, like it's like a little video thing inside your website. Well, the problem is that people don't want to get on screen. People don't want, like, just general website visitors don't want to use a video system to talk to you.
I sent a comment to him on Indie Hackers actually.
Yeah.
Because he posted there.
Yeah.
And I said basically that, like, I said, like, is a website visitor, it's great if you can like get someone there right away. And I don't think anyone will complain about that, or even if you see their video, but I might not want to show my video as a visitor. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe I'm just in my underwear and I'm just like at the computer doing some stuff before I take a shower in the morning, or, it could be all kinds of reasons. Maybe your apartment's a mess, or you don't have a webcam, or whatever. So, I would just make it one way automatic, but let them decide to show theirs or not.
Well, so it's given him some pause about the product. But it's super interesting that the product is really nice for website owners. They get excited about it. Right. So there's a lot of buzz. It's been easy for him to sell it.
Yeah.
But the problem,
at least
just goes to show you how complicated all this stuff is, because he can sell it, but then is he going to have retention? Because basically no visitors are going to use it. That's the problem. So he's sort of moved. He's still testing that out and still sort of moving forward. But he's quickly created a couple of other things using the same technology, which is just testing. And another one, and so he's got that site, heyhi.io, which
Mm-hmm.
anyone can check out right now, unless it's offline. Well, it might be dead by now. I'm not sure, but
Oh no,
he's got
it's in our
another.
show notes.
No, that's okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
heyhi.io, that's fine. So then another one that he's done two more iterations, just testing two new landing pages, basically. Although they work, because he uses no code. He's actually pretty. I think something he should consider is writing about no code because he's really good at it. He's created a second site called replayhero.ie, which
Mm-hmm.
basically is a way to let's say you, Alchemist Camp, let's say someone told you about a bug and it was really hard for you to understand what they were doing because they weren't being clear. You could just say, hey, just go to Replay Hero and click record, and then it enables them to record a screen recording of them using your site. And so they'll instantly will get that screen recording. So it's just because, I mean, I don't know whether
It's
you've
like
experienced.
Hotjar, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So because with, for example, with Plugio, I was looking through my emails. I had 6,000 bug requests, like support requests.
Feature. Geez.
Yeah.
How many
Support
customers?
requests. Well, I had like 25,000 users in the
Okay.
database.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a lot. And a lot of the time is backwards and forwards. Like, what do you mean? Did you mean this? Did you mean that? Oh, jump on the phone. It would have actually been super helpful to just have something where people could just record what they were seeing and then just send it to me.
You know what I used to have on my language learning app, like the failed startup from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a thing in it where they could open up a help window and then hit a button. Like they could type in a message and hit a button.
Yeah.
And that would send the entire con, which is like it's a concept in Phoenix and Plug, but basically the entire connection struct. So it would include like what page they came from. It would include like all the information that's going to the server that generates the page. So I have like the full state of what's going on in their bug report.
That's cool.
Yeah, like that one thing saved me so many headaches because so many of the customers for that like didn't really speak English that well. They were like Vietnamese people that were using it to learn English.
Yeah, I believe it. That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of screen recordings, like Sentry IO stuff that gives you like JavaScript bugs.
Yeah, so basically he's just validating both of those things, talking to customers, finding out which one works better. But a third thing that he did just for fun, which might kind of be something, is if you just type in pitchwall.io.
Okay. Pitchwall.
Okay. Pitchwall.io. And again, came from this sort of combination of the two technologies previously. And it's sort of like Product Hunt, but for founder pitches. And a founder just goes there and does a 30-second pitch for their website and just posts. It's like a little round video of them pitching their website.
Okay. So are there investors on the other side of it, or is it just you're just putting it up there?
Just putting it out there, yeah. But so it's sort of like, I mean, these kind of sites have proven to be successful. So if you look at BetaList, for example, and when I say these kind of sites, I mean sites where people are talking about their early release product or their new product, and it's just people sort of pitching it, but not through video. That hasn't been done before. So I thought it was an interesting concept, and he's just doing that thing where he's sort of looking at three different quadrants of a map and just seeing, okay, is there oil, just 2 feet under the surface?
It's like I have this thing that makes video. If I use it for this, okay. How about if I use it for this? Use it for this.
So it's the going back to the pottery analogy. Like he's basically just doing a lot of pottery right now.
Yeah. Well, I had a couple thoughts about him specifically, and then one article related to no code that I thought might be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
So the stuff I noticed with Mateo is like, one, seems like he is super well suited for Product Hunt. Like he's putting stuff out that that looks like, it looks like something people are going to be willing to vote up. It's like the design is pretty standard, and nothing wrong with it. And he's putting things out quickly, and I think putting things out quickly helps a lot too, because he'll get people following him from one product, and then
Yeah.
some of them will vote on the next product too.
Yeah.
So I definitely see some promise in that. And the whole, like, I've got a tool, I'm going to try doing stuff with it, I think is actually good. I think most like lean startup-y people will say, no, don't do that. That's horrible. Everything has to start from, a complaint you heard from a customer. But um, this is something that's been done successfully by computer scientists, by researchers, by entrepreneurs. When there's like a new paradigm, once you have a new ability, you might as well just see what problems yield to your new tool.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically test stuff and get
Yeah.
and get the analytics back. So, he's going to get there.
Yeah.
He's got the right temperament. It's just which one is going to hit and which one is going to sort of you get
Like,
some momentum.
I want to move a bit in that direction too, because I think, I've got one stable thing that's like kind of hard to grow, and I'm stuck in a little bit of a rut. And it's okay, but if I switch from exploiting that to also exploring more on the side, I think it's going to be better.
If I was starting out today, one thing I would do is build an automated and like something like an Is It Keto automated system. I think that would be because the thing is you can just sort of keep building something like that. That you can time slice it. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
I
Is It
don't
Keto?
quite like, what do you, well, I know Is It Keto, but what do you mean like an Is It Keto
Like
automated system?
basically something that creates value for people that you don't have to interface with customers, that you can create like a very through dynamic programming, you can create a lot of pages that all get slipped up by Google, and a lot of people land on your site and get that value. So just
Yes.
a completely automated income
My
stream.
most successful indie hacker friend, when
Yeah,
I
I know
met
you've
in
mentioned this.
Beijing
Yeah, yeah.
2010, like, he got his millions of monthly uniques from generating who knows how many pages based on US nutritional database information.
I think
And
it's
it
it,
worked.
I think it's a really good strategy as a backup, even just as a backup strategy. If you just did it as like in a time slice of your life, if you put a couple of hours a week into it, I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
a
I
good,
think that's,
you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
that is one thing that I think any developer could do.
Yeah. Because I'm definitely on the content treadmill right now. And while I am on it, I'm going to like push pretty hard and try to grow an audience. But I think I should be putting more time into stuff that's lower upkeep. So
Yeah.
anyway, want to hear about that no code article?
Yes, please.
And let me
Tell me.
share my screen, and hopefully I won't have to cut anything out of the audio.
Your bandwidth has got much better now. It was terrible
Has it?
before. Yeah.
It varies. I think it depends on if my Mac is trying to download Xcode or anything else going
Oh,
on.
okay. All right, fair enough.
How good is he? No, that's not the one. So there was this one on Hacker News.
Yeah.
When is no code useful? And it was talking about like, what is it presented as? What is it good at? What does it struggle with? It doesn't seem like it's being built too much with abstractions or long-term maintainability or like version control or that kind of thing built into it. But it's super good for something ephemeral, something that you just need to build quickly for a little bit, or something that's churning all the time, like especially something that like a marketing website, marketing manager wants to keep messing with, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And goes on a bit about pluses and minuses. People were talking about it a lot on Hacker News, and I have the wrong article up. it's interesting though, because it seems like there's a huge disconnect in how much people are just cheerleading it or saying like, well, this isn't anything new at all. Because in thread, I'm seeing, mention after mention after mention of Excel, which I had thought of previously. And stuff like WordPress was kind of no code before.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if we've said this before, but I'm still generally of the opinion that it's mostly a marketing phrase, and it's just kind of a way to gather all the people working on stuff together.
And also it's a bad marketing phrase because it's not no code.
Well, it will kind of turn you into a coder, I think, because like if you're using Airtable or even if you're just like using Excel and you're getting good at it and making complicated formulas and pivot tables, and then it's like after a while it's like you see SQL and it's like, oh yeah, I know all of this already somehow.
I'm telling you, like the stuff that Mateo's doing, there's no way that it's no code. I mean, he's basically hacking shit together inside a no code environment. So what you could call it is some code or low code. I think low code is a term I've seen.
Or I've seen that. I just call it other people's code. Because it's like, because it's like serverless architectures. Like there's still a server. It's just you don't own it, and your server is kind of like distributed amongst all these third-party services, and that's basically what you're doing with a no-code thing. If like you don't have your own database, but you've kind of like built your schema on Airtable or on some other service.
It isn't very fascinating to me because I can do stuff quickly with regular code.
What's fascinating to me is how much of a trend it's become, and like how many people on Indie Hackers, I think that was like one of the main places that started it, are just hyping it, and it's going to be interesting to watch. I don't think it's going to eliminate programming. I think it's actually going to make more programmers.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I also don't think it's like you should avoid any of it either. To me, it just seems like a spectrum. While I've got this open, here are some stats from my YouTube channel, and this is delayed 2 days. Okay. So usually it's been hovering around like maybe 150, 200 views per day. And the last 2 days, it's been 375. So it's basically doubled over normal just from daily posting something for the last 4 days.
I mean, it makes sense. It's a surface area of opportunity, basically.
We'll see what happens. Like if I do it too much, I'm sure I'll lose some subscribers, but so far it seems really encouraging, and I want to share again next week.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something I saw. Have you been following the full self-driving rollout for Tesla?
No, I was looking at the Starlink terms of service though.
Well, let's talk about the full self-driving rollout.
Yeah, let's do it.
Interesting, because I've been watching YouTubers who have been recording their first experiences with full self-driving, and basically just driving through regular streets, taking like a half-hour trips, and I mean these people are just there talking about it, and the car's doing stuff, and I'm thinking, holy shit, that, like, why aren't you terrified right now? I mean, the car is like making all the decisions. It's crazy. It's crazy.
How fully automated do you think it is?
Oh, it's full self-driving.
So there's like no need for human intervention at all?
Well, there is when it does something crazy, but that's
okay.
Amazingly, I just can't believe how well it works. It's quite astonishing how well it works.
So people aren't like taking naps in it yet?
No, everyone's being very attentive and keeping their hands on the wheel to stop it, because there's been a couple of times when it's driven to the other side of the road, but pretty much barely any times that it's done something like that.
That's
Like,
kind of the most dangerous zone, I think. Because like if it's like 95% safe, I'll be like white knuckled at the wheel. But if it's like 99.9%, then you might relax a little
well,
bit. And that's
I
when,
don't want to be disingenuous because it didn't drive. It never did something where it was going to like drive into oncoming traffic. It just did something where, maybe it was a little too close
Mhm.
to the side of the road, like from a calibration point of view. So there was never, I didn't see any truly dangerous moments. But what I did see, I mean, I guess I've watched about 3 hours of this stuff of just Tesla
Mhm.
self-driving through different streets with markings, with no markings, through
Wow.
I mean, through like 5 lane roads going to an intersection that has like four different choices and sort of turning around, and it's doing it.
Hmm.
It's just like it. Okay, here's an example. Guy goes up to a wide intersection. The car the car pulls from the out lane, indicates to the middle lane, then indicates to the left lane, goes into the left lane, and then sort of when the light turns green, pulls out a little bit, has kind of like it's having a little look, and then just does the turn, just like a human. And I guess because it must be the machine learning data, it is literally doing what humans do.
Yeah, I mean, there's been self-driving for a long time. Like we've been getting data for at least 5 or 6 years, but yeah, it's just like gradually expanding into a larger and larger scope of competence.
The other thing that's interesting is how well it maps the world just with cameras. So I guess in this beta version of the software, they show what the computer sees with bright green and red lines,
Yeah,
and it's crazy. It sees so much, it understands so much. Very, very
that
well.
one I've seen. So a lot of the podcasts on that one show that I like, the artificial intelligence podcast with Lex Friedman.
Mm,
And he's had the Elon Musk on the podcast like 2 or 3 times, I
yeah.
think. But he's doing a self driving car related startup, and several of the people he's had on the show have been as well. Like one of the most controversial things with Tesla is just that they are doing just cameras
Yeah.
instead of lidar, and it's I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious like how long that'll last. I feel like they may also be using lidar before long.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. Like I think I don't think they're going to stick with just cameras forever, but could be wrong. I don't know too much about this.
Well, they might find a. I mean, if that's true, then I guess that Elon will find a very cheap way of doing something other than cameras. We'll
Yeah,
find a
I
new
think
method.
part of why he's like talking up the cameras so much is because that's what they're doing. But
Mm,
um, in vaguely related news, Starlink, the space internet service,
mm.
has an interesting clause in its terms of service. And that says that basically, if you agree to it, it says uh, no Earth based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities. So, and anything related to services provided to, on, or in orbit around the planet Earth or the moon, these terms and any disputes between us arising out of or related to these terms, including disputes regarding arbitrability, will be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of the state of California in the United States. For services provided on Mars or in transit to Mars via Starship or other colonization spacecraft, the parties recognize Mars as a free planet and that no Earth based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities. So, like, that's I can see why like someone might want that precedent, but that's an interesting thing to be putting into the terms of service of anyone using their internet service now.
It's hard to. I don't really have a comeback for that. That's just like, um, why do you think that's in there?
Probably for long-term leverage. That would be my guess, but I don't know how much
Against
that
two.
grants
Against two.
base anyone wanting to sue them under a jurisdiction they don't want for anything that happens on Mars. But it's
Well, what does that have to do with Star? I don't. What does it have to do with Starlink? I'm not.
well, so
I'm not
Starlink
connecting the dots.
apparently is going to provide service off of the Earth as well, like provide internet service to things on the moon and to things on Mars and things in transit.
But I mean, how? Okay, it's going to be a strange kind of internet service to Mars where every packet takes, like a day to get there or whatever.
Oh, well, if it's service to there, but if it's just service there, people on Mars communicating with other people on Mars, then it'd be really
Okay.
fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like this is a little bit out there, and it's interesting to me. Also because governments aren't they're not bound by contracts they sign.
How
Like
did it
if
come to your attention, this?
Twitter,
I just wonder, is it like in there? What it seems to me like is a publicity stunt, sort of like,
maybe
sort of like this, sending Starman, the car into space. It's just sort of, yeah.
that was well timed. Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of a more jokey, but I don't know if it's, maybe
I
not.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say because there are a lot of other things where people historically have been like, well, no, who cares about the North Pole anyway, or the Arctic anyway, and now they're
Yeah.
like mining disputes between every country like that's far north.
Huh. That's
So
that's
I don't
interesting.
know. Yeah, but it won't work with governments because like if you sign up for the army, or I guess you're not American, but like if I had signed up for the army when I was 20 or whatever, and sign the contracts, like I would be bound by everything, but actually the government is not bound by anything in the contract that you sign. Like
That's
they're
yeah.
not bound by contracts with individuals. So like this terms of service would have zero impact on nation states that might be trying to enforce things.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
just a
yeah.
weird thing I saw on Twitter.
Yeah. That's cool. It's
What does
cool.
Twitter show you?
I haven't seen anything super cool lately. I mean, there's lots of election stuff going on right now.
I've actually got almost none of that. I've got lots of programming. I mean, because my whole Twitter account is for Elixir programming,
I
and I,
think
I
that
get like JavaScript stuff sometimes, but
what I do keep seeing on Twitter, I think that somehow Twitter thinks that I want to see articles that say polling is wrong and that Trump is going to win. Because that's what keeps coming up in my feed. And it's really annoying because I do not want to see that.
could that be location based? Because you said like you're in a small mountain town in California,
Yes, that's true. It's very, yeah, I am in, I'm
and
in a
I'm in Taiwan, so
Republican.
it might figure that I'm not that into the U.S. politics stuff.
But it's weird that it's sending me that in particular because it's like, I mean, I don't know what. Yeah. Anyway, it's
I
very
don't know.
strange.
Well, I mean, on my Android phone, I get all kinds of ads for green card applications, and I don't need one.
Sometimes I see stuff in Georgie's feed, or and in my feed, and I'm just like, how did they discern that we are interested in that? Like, where do they get that
Yeah,
information from? It's
yeah.
like I think they must be actually listening via the smart devices or something because
Oh,
it's only by spoken word that we've ever mentioned anything like that.
so you mean really well targeted?
Yeah, really well targeted. Yeah.
Yeah, but you could easily have made a lot of searches or typed in a lot of things before that don't reveal the exact thing you were saying, but they're highly correlated with someone who's about to say those things. Kind
Okay.
of like the
Yeah.
whole like Target sending diaper advertisements to the pregnant teenager before her dad knew she was pregnant. Like that whole, I don't know if you heard that story a few
No, I
years ago.
didn't. I didn't. Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
it wasn't like she didn't tell them she was pregnant. It's just based on other stuff she was buying and maybe stocking up on certain things or buying different things, and she had been previously, some machine learning algorithm at Target realized like, oh, okay, we should send her ads for these things, and that'll increase our expected earnings from this customer by a few cents. And like all these ads came, and then her parents were like, what? Like what's going on here? And then it turned out like Target found out, or Target's revenue optimizing algorithm found out before the parents
So
did.
did they sue, or like how did this come to
It
light?
was it was a big story. Like I don't remember how it got into the news, but I think the father was really upset at Target at first, and then like found out like what was going on.
Hmm.
I don't know, but it was just one of those one of those crazy things.
That is crazy.
So that could be. I mean, I'm all for privacy in general, but the algorithms I do like, the recommendation algorithms I do engage with a lot. I wish they were a little bit smarter about me. Like YouTube maddens me. Like if I watch like one or two interviews that an author has given, based on the last couple books they've written, YouTube would be like, oh, this guy wants to see 15 more interviews. They're almost identical that the same author gave at different bookstores about the same book.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, it's
You
just
oh
frustrating.
in a bout of retail therapy, I have purchased a robotic vacuum cleaner
Oh, is this
and done
like one
some
of the
pretty deep research to make
it's a
sure that I get
Roomba, or you
just the
got
right
a
one.
newer one?
Basically a Chinese. Again, just like looking at all the full self-driving videos. I don't know why I go on these tangents, but anyway, I have been watching a lot of videos about people testing out different robotic vacuum cleaners, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of blushing right now because this is just another silly me thing. Um, but there's a great channel called Vacuum Wars, and there's another
Okay.
one. There's another one called, I think it's Robot Masters, um, and basically they just pitch and compare all the different vacuums, and there's a specific set of needs that I have in this house because we have wood floors and carpets, and it has to sort of climb up over those things and do those carpets. So anyway, there's a Chinese manufacturer called Roborock that is
Mm-hmm.
basically, as far as I can tell, pretty far ahead of Roomba, and also lower price. So they're producing stuff that's what would cost sort of in the 1,000+ range from Roomba. They're producing for in the $400 type range.
Hmm.
So, and like on a head-to-head comparison, it's amazing how these guys do these YouTube channels and like test it. Like they will put they will get a specific weight of sand, put it in the carpet, send the robot over there, then take out the take out
We'll
the
see
thing
how
and
much it got.
measure exactly how much sand and give you, okay, this gets 95% of the sand. And they'll do it with like Cheerios and like gummy bears and just like scatter all this stuff over the apartment and see what it does. It's really interesting.
I bet they love their job.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so the one that I'm getting is basically the very newest model from Robo Rock. It's called the S4 Max,
Hmm.
and it's just basically, I think it's just the best. It's the exact right intersection of price and feature.
Hmm. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder how it's so cheap.
Uh, well, it's not cheap. It's $429,
429. Yeah. Huh.
but
Well,
it's less than a good Dyson.
I am not spending anything for a while, just since I didn't calculate my finances very well. In two
Yes.
ways, actually. Like, one was just the variance of my income, and then two is the exchange rates.
Oh, that
Because
sucks.
it was about 33 to 1 for me 6 months ago. Now it's
Yeah.
like 28.5 to 1.
Oh.
So it's like I'm charging the same thing to all of my customers in US dollars, but that's worth considerably less for me than it was 6 months
Wait,
ago.
so you used to get 33 and now you only get 28.
Yes.
Huh. That is a lot less.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like similar exchange. I think this is like the strongest Taiwan dollar I've ever seen.
That's not what you want. You need to be
I know.
Taiwan. So
I mean,
released us.
I want it in that it represents there's no pandemic here.
Yeah.
And hasn't really been. I think like sub 500 infections ever and like 7 deaths or something. But so I like that I can go out and everything's convenient and all that, but I don't like that I'm going out and spending money that I earned abroad that's not worth much here.
So
So
is no one wearing masks there?
no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, some people are wearing masks anyway, like before there was a
They already
pandemic.
were. Yeah, that's just
Not
part of.
everybody, but just
Yeah.
like if people who have a cold often do. Some
I've
older
always seen
people
that
do.
amongst Asian cultures, people wearing masks in the past. I mean, I remember it for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's definitely not rare, but most people don't wear one most of the time. And like even riding the subway, most people don't most of the time. But that's the one thing here where we do have to wear a mask on the subway itself now.
It's funny, I used to find that an uncomfortable idea when in the past before this pandemic, when I saw someone walking around wearing a mask. But now I understand it. It makes sense. It makes sense under certain circumstances. Yeah.
Because before maybe you thought like they were going to mug you or something.
No, they were just sort of walking around with a mask, and it's just like, well, why do that? But now I get it, you know?
Yeah, well, they used to be much more common here, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because like the first time I visited as a teenager, they didn't have all the mass transit built out that they have now. So most people were driving scooters all the time. Like no
Right.
one's taking a subway,
Yeah.
and as a result, there was more air pollution, and a
Hmm.
lot of people would just like wear a mask when they're outside, especially like if they're on a scooter, they'd wear a mask.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
there was that, but it's not like it's not very different now from how it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
So, what are your goals
Okay, my
or goal?
official goal is
Yeah.
still record 4 videos, but my unofficial goal is live stream every day. And every day that I'm not working on Phoenix Igniter, I'm extracting a tutorial from the live stream. When I am working on it, I'm extracting code from the live stream that I'm going to use for Phoenix Igniter. So basically, something every day that hopefully brings in more money.
Yeah. So it's a 1 week goal. I guess my goal is to understand what the game mechanic is going to be, like to work it
Oh my
out,
gosh.
you know? So, so like just because there's the open world, and now I just need to work out how the rounds thing is going to work.
Do you need that before launching?
Well, yeah, because otherwise it's like you said, it's just meandering. Like
Wow.
you can't just have a meandering open map. It needs to have a reason. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck with it.
Hmm. Thank you.
And talk to you next week then.
Ciao. Over and out.
Later.